Congrats to the Ohio State Buckeyes on winning the first ever 12-team college football playoff national championship, their first national title since 2014. With the 2024 season in the rearview mirror, we now shift our attention to 2025 as on this edition of College Football Now, we will bring you our way too early preseason top 25 for next season. We'll rank every team from 25 all the way to number 1 in just a matter of moments. Before we do, got a little challenge out there for our College Football Now viewers. If you want more content throughout the entire offseason, then I need you to subscribe, as we're talking everything from recruiting, NIL, transfer portal, and everything in between right here on the channel. Subscribe now for free. Let's get 20 subs off today's video. If we get 20 subs, we're going to bring you more content than ever before. Subscribe now, youtube.com/chatsportstv, and we'll get started with today's show. All right, let's go ahead and get started as we're going to look at our preseason college football top 25 rankings for the 2025 campaign. And we begin at number 25 with one of the breakout stories of the 2024 season. That was the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. This past season, they opened up the year with a big win in Ireland against Florida State, had a huge victory against Miami late in the year. They gave Georgia all they could handle going into several overtime periods. And with King and others coming back, there's a lot of excitement about Georgia Tech entering 2025. At 24, we find the Oklahoma Sooners. Brent Venables, his seat is as warm as ever, coming off just a 6-win campaign. They do bring in Washington State transfer quarterback John Mateer to take over. There's a lot of excitement about what potentially he could do, but we shall see. At number 23, we find the Florida Gators. Florida had a nice finish to the 2024 season with wins against Ole Miss and LSU, among others. But when you look at Florida, it was a shaky start for Billy Napier. And you wonder, with this top 10 recruiting class coming in, with what they've done in the portal, is it legit or is it not? Can Lagway get the job done for Florida? We shall see. Number 22, Husker fans have been waiting a long time for this one, folks. We find the Nebraska Cornhuskers cracking the top 25. Dylan Raiola was one of the best freshman quarterbacks in all of college football this past season. Can't wait to see what he does. I know people say he looks like Mahomes, but he's making a name for himself, and Matt Rule's doing a pretty dang good job there as the Cornhuskers went bowling for the first time in a long time this past year. At 21, we find the SMU Mustangs. SMU made it to the college football playoff this past season. They also made it to the ACC championship game. It was quite the historic season for SMU in their first year in the ACC, and now they're looking to build off of that momentum, and they bring a lot of guys back as well. We're going to reveal our number 1 team coming up later, but we want to hear from you guys. Who should be the number 1 ranked college football team next season? Weigh in the comments section. Give us a team that comes to mind that you believe deserves to be at the top. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. Whether you're looking for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more, Game Time's got you covered. The NFL playoffs in full swing. We got conference championships coming up this weekend. Obviously, got the big game in a few weeks from right now as well. And I got to tell you, I've had some great sports memories going to NFL playoff games. Got to take my dad to see the Chiefs play the Steelers a few years ago. And you can be like me and get tickets for NFL playoff action on Game Time, folks, and make memories that will last a lifetime. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals and great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. They have their super deals. If you see a super deal, that's a deal you don't want to pass up on. You can customize your spot. They also have their seat views as well, so you can get the visual, see what that seat is like. Here's all you have to do. choose the event you want to go to. They got the prices listed. You pick your seat, and then just like that, you're checking out with Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. The lowest price is guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. The Game Time coverage, ticket coverage difference. Let me tell you about this, folks. Your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. At number 20, we find the Texas A&M Aggies. Mike Elko coming off his first season with Texas A&M, and it was a pretty successful season for Texas A&M this year in the SEC. But can they build upon that? We know Texas A&M's got plenty of money to work with, but can they take the next step forward? That remains to be seen. At 19, we find the Ole Miss running Rebels at this spot. Ole Miss, they'll have a lot to replace. No Jackson Dart, no Walter Nolan, but Lane Kiffin has turned Ole Miss into a serious contender over the last several seasons. Indiana coming off the best season in modern history there with the Indiana Hoosiers program. And I got to say, I've been very impressed with what they did, but they did benefit from a very easy schedule. The schedule's going to be a little bit more difficult this year. Let's see how Indiana adjusts accordingly. 17, a lot of talk about Brett Bielema's Illinois Fighting Illini squad as they bring back a lot of their defensive players. They bring back Altmaier at the quarterback position as well. Illinois could be a sneaky good team to watch in the Big Ten, and they're coming off just a 3-loss season this past year. Maybe they take that next step forward. At number 16, we find the Iowa State Cyclones. They were just one win away from playing in the college football playoff this year as they lost to Arizona State in the Big 12 championship game. Matt Campbell's back. Rocco Beck is back. Let's see what the Cyclones can do. At number 15, we find the Kansas State Wildcats entering our rankings. Avery Johnson back. Chris Kleiman's done a really good job as their coach over the last several seasons. They have a solid run game with Dylan Edwards and company. Don't sleep on Kansas State there to potentially be a sneaky contender to make the college football playoff. At number 14, we find the Michigan Wolverines. They'll have a new quarterback, Bryce Underwood, the number 1 overall player, the 5-star freshman coming into town. And they have some momentum that they can build upon after the finish to this past season, beating the Ohio State, in addition to beating Alabama in the ReliQuest Bowl. Let's see if Sharon Moore and company can get Michigan back on track to competing at a high level to make the college football playoff. At 13, we find the South Carolina Gamecocks. Shane Beamer's team had a really good season. They were just short of making the college football playoff a season ago. I really like the Sellers kid at quarterback. They got some talent on that South Carolina team. That team seems to be ascending the right direction. They surprised a lot of people this past year. At 12, we have Arizona State. And although Cam Scatteraboo is headed to the National Football League, their leading rusher, one of the best players in college football, this is still going to be a very good Arizona State team. Remember, they were picked to finish last in the Big 12 this past season, and instead won the entire league. Sam Levitt is coming back after a tremendous first season as their starting quarterback. Arizona State will be the favorites to win the Big 12 for the second year in a row. At number 11, we find the Clemson Tigers, the ACC champions this past year. Clemson, this was a team that went through their peaks and valleys this past year, but had a nice finish to the year, winning the ACC and beating SMU in that title game. We're still waiting on Cade Klubnik to take that next step up. And although Dabo hasn't really invested a whole lot in the transfer portal over the years, this is going to be a very veteran-laden team in 2025 as they bring a ton of starters back. Watch out for Clemson. We'll reveal the top 10 in a moment, but we want to hear from you guys. Who will win the Heisman Trophy in 2025? Could it be a Cade Klubnik potentially? Let us know. Fill in the blank. Who will win the Heisman Trophy in 2025? Weigh in and let us know. At number 10, you could argue that there's not a team with more pressure on themselves than the Alabama Crimson Tide entering 2025. Year 2 for Kalen DeBoer. He's still got to figure out his quarterback situation. They're making several changes among that coaching staff, but you better believe Bama is still going to be very talented. And if they don't make the college football playoff, is Kalen DeBoer's job potentially on the line? We shall see. At number 9, we find the Tennessee Volunteers. Nico is back for his second year as the starter there at Tennessee. And that Tennessee team, I know you're going to lose James Pierce and a couple other guys, but they're going to be a loaded football team. I'm excited to see what Tennessee does. At number 8, Miami. You lose Cam Ward, but now you bring in Carson Beck from Georgia to be your new starting quarterback. It was a very impressive year for the Hurricanes. Mario Cristobal had a very good year this past year. They're looking to take a step forward. They could be the favorites in the ACC. At number 7, we find the LSU Tigers. And LSU, they're going to be a team that has a lot of pressure on them as well. Brian Kelly still waiting to take that next step. Is the Nuss Bus going to lead this LSU team in the right direction? Can he potentially turn into an NFL talent? Let's see what LSU can do. At number 6, we find the Oregon Ducks, the defending Big Ten champions, despite losing to Ohio State in the quarterfinals in the Rose Bowl. It was a very impressive year for Oregon in their first year in the Big Ten. They're going to lose some key players like Dylan Gabriel and others, but they got plenty of players waiting in the wings, and they got plenty of money to spend there at Oregon as well. Now, let's get to our top 5. Let's begin with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Coming off a national championship game appearance. I got to tell you, I know Riley Leonard's gone, but I think he's very replaceable. But I do love the run game. I think Jeremiah Love is going to be fantastic. Notre Dame's going to have a favorable schedule as well. Marcus Freeman, breakout year for him. I don't think the Fighting Irish are going anywhere. At number 4, watch out for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Although Tyler Warren is headed to the NFL as the top tight end in this year's draft, you do bring back Drew Aller. And Andy Kolanenke, I think, was a tremendous hire last year as their offensive coordinator. Look for that offense to take another step forward in 2025. At number 3, we find the Georgia Bulldogs, and it would appear that Stockton has the upper hand to return as the starting quarterback after taking over for Carson Beck in the SEC Championship game and then playing in that Sugar Bowl. We'll see what he could potentially do there. But this Georgia team this past year really struggled at the line of scrimmage. And they had some youth in spots that they're not used to having. I think that Georgia team this upcoming season is going to grow up a lot, and you better believe they're going to do a lot better in the trenches as well. At number 2, we find the Ohio State Buckeyes. Who will be their quarterback? That remains to be seen, but Jeremiah Love is going to be coming back, among others here. Ohio State will be the favorites in the Big Ten and very deserving of that number 2 spot. And I know that they're going to be losing a lot of starters, but based on history, with what Ryan Day's done, they don't rebuild, they reload at Ohio State. And coming in at number 1 is the Texas Longhorns. A new quarterback under center for Texas this year as Quinn Ewers is off to the National Football League. Arch Manning takes over as we begin the Manning era in Austin. And you have to think that with Arch's running abilities, this is going to be able to create a more explosive offense for this Texas team. And they're going to bring back a decent number of defensive players as well. I do question about how they're going to replace some of the guys on the offensive line like Kelvin Banks and others, but I do think Texas, for the most part, is in really good shape, and they ought to be the favorites to win the national title next season. Let's ask you, who do you believe will win the national title in 2025? Weigh in the comments section and let us know. If you love college football, this is the channel for you. Subscribe now for free as we're talking college football all offseason long. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.